Hello, hello. Thank you for being here. This is Cresty Conversations. My name is Josh. This is episode 3. Today we're going to be talking about morphs. But first time we're going to go ahead and talk about what we did last week. Last week I went over what tanks you should be putting your Crested Geckos in, from babies, just hatching, all the way up to full grown, 45 gram, all the way up to 70 gram geckos. So if you need to know what that looks like, go ahead and look at the last video that we did, episode 2, where we learned all about tanks. Today, we have a very special guest, our first guest for Cresty Conversations. I'm really excited to have John on here. He's a good friend of mine. John recently has just been killing it with Crested Geckos. He has a couple high-end morphs that we're going to be talking about today. So without further ado, I would like to introduce y'all to John from Killer Exotics 2022. John, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, how you doing, man? Thanks for having me today.
Doing well, doing well. So let's go ahead, tell people a little bit about yourself, where you're from, a little synopsis how you got into geckos and breeding high-end crested geckos and gargoyle geckos.
I'm from South Florida in the Lake Worth area. I always liked dinosaurs. I always liked going to pet stores when I was a kid. Like it always fascinated me. When me and my wife first started dating and we got our own apartment, right behind our apartment, a reptile store opened up. So um, we also bought our first dog, and when we got our first dog is when I got my first tortoise. I didn't know you can own a tortoise at the time, so I bought a Sakata tortoise. It was a baby, and
Yeah.
so that was like that was just like the tip of the iceberg right there. And the
Mm-hmm.
reptile store opened up. I became friends with the owner. It was called Dark Forest Reptiles in Boynton Beach, Florida. I also worked there for a little bit.
Okay,
Then
nice. You jumped into it, yeah.
I was bringing stuff home every day. I had a new tank at the house, and we only had a one bedroom loft, so it almost looked
Mm-hmm.
like a reptile store when you walked into our place. So finally,
That's
we moved into a bigger place. It was a double master bedroom where I had one master bedroom with all my reptiles.
mm-hmm.
So then I got into breeding. I bred leopard geckos. I bred bearded dragons. I had a little bit of everything. I had like Nile monitor babies. I had baby alligators in my living room in a big, like, 100-gallon fish tank. I had panther chameleons. I had a little bit of everything.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, a little herpetologist over there, getting at every kind of reptile.
I was in my early 20s too. So also, when you're breeding back then, it was harder. Like you had to know someone. They didn't have the internet now and like YouTube where you can look things up like that. Where you had to like, basically, I learned how to breed bearded dragons. There's this kid named Castle that lived not too far from where I was, and he had bearded dragons, and he pretty much showed me what to do. And so I bred those for a little bit, and then I did a few reptile shows down there. I called my company JP's Jungle.
Okay.
My buddy Al, he was older. He was like he was almost like a grandpa to me, and
Mm-hmm.
he uh, he like bought into the business, but he really couldn't be too much hands on because he was older. But
Yeah.
financially, he was there, so we ended up doing some shows and stuff like that. And then after maybe a couple years, I was allergic to something. I'm pretty sure it was like the mice and the rats, the dandruff from them. I
Yeah,
was
I've
feeling
heard
like a
that.
wheeze in my chest, and
Oop.
so I decided I ended up getting rid of everything except for my two tortoises. So I took a 14-year break. I had two dogs. They both passed away 6.5 weeks from each other, and I didn't want to get any more dogs because I can't go through that heartache. Like I was
Yeah,
super
I
close with my
understand that.
two dogs.
Yeah.
So then me and my wife's brother, well, it's her nephew, but we call her brother
Mm-hmm.
Biz. We went to a reptile show. It was Show Me Snakes.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went there, and I was like, I want to get a couple more. If they have cherry head redfoot tortoises, I'm going to buy some. So a guy there had two babies. I picked those up. And I was going to get back into breeding probably just with tortoises. And so then I go to the next show. It was July of 2022. It was Repticon. And there was no tortoises, but my nephew walked up to Ancient Creations where I met Sam.
Mm-hmm.
And she was showing my nephew the gargoyle gecko. And I remember when I worked at the reptile store years ago, they had gargoyle geckos, but they were just black and white, nothing special.
Hmm.
And so she showed me the gargoyles. I was like, man, these things are pretty cool. And like, they look like baby alligators, how their heads look
Yeah.
and their eyes. And I was just fascinated. And I was like, well, what's the maintenance on these things? And she's like, no heat lamps, no UV. You feed them Pangea powder. Once in a while, you give them crickets here and there. And I was
Yeah.
like,
Same with D3 also, right?
yeah, with D3. Yep.
Yeah. If you're not giving UVB, you gotta have calcium with D3 in it.
Right. So I was thinking in my head, I was like, man, I can house a bunch of these, and it's going to be a lot easier than leopard geckos and bearded dragons. So I ended up Daytona show was probably like a few weeks later, probably 4 weeks later. And Sam was trying to get me to buy a Garg, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to Daytona. I'm just going to save my money and go there because I just knew there's going to be some big breeders. And like, I just wanted to learn more about them before I just jumped into it. So
Hmm.
then actually at the show, at the same show I met Sam, I also met my buddy Bobby, and he was working for a Typical Pets at the time, and he bred stuff on the side. So I bought a gargoyle from him. I paid 160 bucks. I was like, I'll just get this one. It's only 160 bucks, and it was a baby. So I brought it home, and I was just hooked. And so Daytona was coming up, and I knew about Tiki's and David, and I knew about the Deadpool, and I
Hmm.
really wanted to get one of those. So I was like, for my second gecko, that's what I want to get. So we go to Daytona. We get there early. I'm in line, and I'm like, man, I hope I can get one. So I was the first one at his table, and I was like, do you have anything Deadpool? He's like, I got one baby. It's a Deadpool senior offspring, and I have a
Hmm.
granddaughter at Deadpool. So
Yeah.
I bought the Deadpool offspring baby, and then my buddy Bobby bought the granddaughter, which I now have because he
Hmm.
ended up taking a break from reptiles. So I bought it from him. And then after I met David and I bought that, I went right across, and then I met Paul Morlock at Rack House and Kelly from Eclipse Exotics.
Hmm.
Talked to them for a while, and talking to Paul's like an encyclopedia. He's just amazing.
Tons of knowledge.
And yeah, I mean, everyone that knows Paul just knows that that dude, like, he just he loves his geckos, man, and he has a passion for them, and he studies them inside and out. And so, yeah, I learned a lot from him, and learned a lot from watching David's videos on YouTube, and
Hmm.
I just dived into it real hard. And so I bought two geckos at Daytona from Paul and Kelly. And then a month later, they came up here to the Atlanta Reptilian Nation show, and then
Hmm.
I had her bring three super blotches I pre-ordered for her to bring up. So I bought those, and dude, I was just on a buying spree.
I
Like,
don't know. When I first met you, I think 2023, 2022, you were just buying like crazy. It didn't matter if it was like Gargs, Cresties. You were just getting all the animals in.
Yep. And so then, like, I remember when I went to Daytona, and Kelly had this super blotch on her table. It was 3,600 bucks, and I'm thinking, dang, like that's a lot of money for a gecko.
Hmm.
But now when I look at it, it's like I bought a bunch of geckos or that worth that much money. But honestly, like when you start breeding the high end stuff and you get all that saturation and the colors and like you pay for the genetics, like it's just like it's like wow when you look at the animals. It's like
Hmm.
they just the colors pop and it looks so good, and it
Yeah,
just sucks. Like all the nice looking stuff is always the expensive looking stuff.
exactly. I feel you.
So I clean houses for a living for Southern Grace House Cleaning, and basically I just was cleaning house and a bunch of houses just to buy these geckos because like I just wanted quality over quantity. I just wanted like really nice stuff. So
Hmm.
and when back in the day, like when I was younger, I didn't really go for as much of the quality. I had some quality, but I didn't really focus on quality. I wanted like a bunch of different stuff, which a
Hmm.
lot of people do when they get into it, and then you live and you learn. So
Well, yeah, because everyone, you don't always get into it knowing that you want to breed it or anything like that. So you get into it. Oh, this is really cool. I got just the one that was at the pet store or at the reptile show. I got this and I thought it was really cute, got it, whatever, interested in it. And then you learn about it. You're like, oh, okay, so this is kind of like beginner. I won't want to say basic, but beginner like reptile and stuff like that. Then you get into other morphs as well. Yeah, Clint,
Yeah,
I hear you. Dang, 47 years being in the reptile world. That's a long time, Clint. I'm sure you've had your fair share of a lot of reptiles as well.
yeah. And it's like sometimes I look back and I'm like, man, I wish I wouldn't have taken 14 years off because that's 14 years I'm not going to get back. But now, like, also my buddy Al, that I was telling you that was my partner, he passed away about just over a year ago, a year and a half ago, and I'm just glad he got to see me get going back into it. But I
Mm-hmm.
wish he could see like the extra year later how much like I came from when I was a year ago. Like I
Yeah,
put
I
in
could.
a lot of time, a lot of money and effort getting this thing going.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it definitely to all these people that are new into it, like it costs money. Like it doesn't happen overnight, and
Mm-hmm. It takes time, a lot of patience, and
it
money as
does.
well. The
And
quality and
what I
money.
was trying to tell my wife in the beginning, like she's awesome. Like she supports me 100% now. But in the beginning, she was just like, "Man, when are you gonna stop buying? When are you gonna stop buying?" But she didn't understand like what I was buying
That's
and,
the
and where I
process.
want to
Yeah,
get to. So, but now like this is my third season breeding. I just started doing reptile shows, selling geckos, and I'm going to be soon starting to sell online and like starting a morph market, and I'll post stuff on Instagram and this and that. But it's just like I said, my other job is cleaning houses. I clean two, sometimes three houses a day. Plus, I have to take care of 170 reptiles. So
yeah,
um, eventually, I'm going to start having to cut down on my house cleaning to focus more on selling. And because when I sell, like I want to also have the best customer service. Like I don't want someone to text me and be like, "Yo, I'll get back to you in a little bit. I'm at a cleaning." Like I want to be
yeah.
able to help them right then and there if I can.
Definitely. Let's look into the question or the comments real quick. Clint went to the Daytona Expo back in 1989. Weren't any color or any morphs yet. Yeah, I believe they were still really new. They came back in like the 90s, or they came over to the U.S. like in the 90s or so for the gargoyles. Correct?
Yeah, they came. The gargoyles came before the cresteds.
Okay, so were they the 80s that they came or early
I'm not
90s?
sure. I just remember Paul saying when I was talking to him, he said that the gargoyles actually came before the cresteds. I don't think not too far before, but I'm not sure exactly the year though. But I know for sure Gargs came right before the cresteds did.
But yeah, so about 30 years in so far, and they've gone from very little color or structure into all these hundreds of breeders around the United States and around the world that have focused on quality and breeding good, healthy animals and furthering what they look like to where we have all these beautiful, beautiful geckos and reptiles, gargoyle geckos, everything today. Olivia said in the comments she got her first gecko off of Craigslist. Hey Olivia, how
Yeah,
you doing tonight? It's really cool to see you. Thank you for joining us. You got it off. You saw one on YouTube. Love an impulse buy. Of course, it's always great. Clint also said, "You bet no YouTube or internet." Also, yeah, so a lot harder to find them and do research on them as well. I bet, but thankfully we've had great breeders that have been doing research for 30 plus years that have helped all of us learn more about them. So that's also great. Yeah, I miss you too, Olivia. We need to see you at another show soon.
yeah. I remember when I was working at the reptile store, like when crested geckos were becoming real popular. I remember people saying, "Oh, I'll feed it baby food and this and that," because that's what they used to feed them back in the day before
Yeah.
P&G. It was baby food.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember
Don't
touching
do
them.
that.
It had
Okay,
like
for y'all out there, don't do that. No baby food.
yep. But I remember touching them, and they had like a weird like feeling to their skin and stuff. And I was like, these things are pretty cool. The thing is, so I got my first crested gecko when I bought a Deadpool gargoyle from Tiki online. Danielle called me and she's like, we have a bunch of Cresties that we'll give you a high end Crested Gecko for $25 added to your order. And I was like, you know what? Go ahead, because worst case scenario, I could go flip it and sell it. So I was like, yeah, I'll take it. So I got that. That was my first one. And then I got hooked. And one of the reasons why I never really got them to begin with is because I don't care for that how they drop their tail, and I don't like how they look
They
without it.
don't grow back. Yeah, the little frog butts.
Yeah, so that was one thing that really kept me away for a while. But then once I got this one, I was like, oh, it's pretty cool. And then when I saw the Exanthic and I saw the lily white Exanthic and how it had that black and white, and like lily whites in general, even if it's not an Exanthic, are really nice. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, whoa, those are cool. And before the lily whites, like I always liked the super Dalmatians. Like that was always like my,
Mm-hmm.
they were cool looking, like with all those black dots and all. They just look really cool. So yeah, Tiki sort of like he sent me that one, then he sent me down the rabbit hole,
Mm-hmm.
and
That's
yeah, so I wanted to get. So then I got a pair of Dalmatians, and then after that, I was like, all right, I want to get an Xanthic. So I called up Altitude, and I saw that they were going to be at one of the Atlanta shows.
mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right, I want to get a visual. And before I got that one, I went to Rock and Roll Geckos and I
Mm-hmm.
bought a het. And
All right.
hets get really confusing.
I was like, yeah, let's get into that a little bit. Can you explain exactly what an exanthic crested gecko is first?
Okay, so the Xanthic Crested Gecko, they're black geckos, and they basically it blocks out the coloring with their genetics. So it will have some white on it, like at the base of the tail. Sometimes it'll have like a diamond shape kind of thing on their
Mm-hmm.
tail. Um, Also, before I get into talking about Cresties, like I've only been into them for about a year and a half. I did the Gargs longer, so I still there's a lot I need to learn about like morphs and other things. But when it comes to Xanthics, I know a lot because I mean it's pretty simple when you're dealing with that kind of gene to produce them. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I bought a het male um, off the bat, and it was a 66%. So you have your 66%, 50%, 25%. Honestly, the way I look at it, either the gecko has it or not. To me, it's a 50% chance no matter the way you look at it. Yeah, you may better your chances depending on what what the two you come up with, but honestly, until you prove it out, you're not going to know
Yeah.
if it has a genetic or not.
Mm-hmm.
So my advice, honestly, is to always get a visual male, and then if you don't have the money to get a visual female, they get 100% het female. I don't recommend getting 100% het male. Like
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's just a waste of money. Save up and get the visual. And if you have that money to get another visual, then you're making all visuals instead of getting half and half. So
So for people that are just getting into exanthics, visual means 100% exanthic. Okay, and then head exanthic. Could you get into that as well? Like how the how it
yes,
differentiates
so if
from
it's a hundred, if it's 100% het, it means it carries a genetic but doesn't show it. So if you breed a visual male to 100% het female, half the babies are going to come out exanthic, and half the babies are going to be hets. So and then, but it doesn't. I mean, I got lucky. Out of the 8 eggs, one of my het females laid. 6 out of the 8 were visuals, and the 2 were hets.
that's awesome.
So you get lucky like that, and then sometimes it could go the other way. You just never know. But that's what I'm saying. Like to have better chances of creating visuals, either get the visual male with 100% het female, or get a visual male and a visual female, and then you can get all visuals when you pair up the two visuals together.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you, Clint. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share. I appreciate that. Yes, going down the rabbit hole, get into the head, Xanthic, 50%, all that. This is a question for you, John, from Olivia. What do you think of the claim het Xanthic have a specific look? Do you think that you can tell by looking at them that it would be like het Xanthic, it would have the Xanthic trait in them, or what?
Not, I don't think so. I I don't think you can look at a het and be like that's a het. Like you have to prove it out.
Okay. And then are you thinking like even with lineage that you see that like if it was a het pairing, they
Well,
have another one.
I've only produced like 15 Xanthics, and only out of the 15, two of them are hets. So I can't really like based on like me seeing personally, like I really can't answer that question. But from what I see, like from
You're like
the
I've been winning so much, I don't know what it's like.
I just don't know. I haven't seen that many. I haven't hatched out that many that were hets. So I really can't give you 100%. But if I had to guess, and like, I don't think so. I think you got to prove them out. I don't think there's a way to tell it's a het by looking at it.
Definitely. And for other people out there, can you pair 100% to 100% Xanthic?
Oh yeah, you
Okay,
could do.
that's perfectly fine. That's good. All right, there's other morphs out here that we're going to be talking about a little bit later that you cannot have the same. You can't have a lily white and a lily white together.
Right,
You always have to have separate. Even when you have the Xanthic lily white, you cannot pair to another lily white. That is a fatal gene combo, and what 99% of the eggs fail. So it is not good for the health of the crested gecko or the babies for that to occur. So don't breed lily whites to lily whites.
right.
So did you have anything about head exanthics or exanthics before we get into your exanthic lily whites?
Not really. Like I said, the best thing I could say is visual to visual or a visual to 100% het female. That's my best advice. If you can afford it. If some people they don't really want to spend that kind of money, so if you want to get 100% hit and 100% hit, then it's going to create 25. You have a 25% chance of creating a visual, and then uh, you also what's weird is you'll get a non-hit out of there too. So even though the other ones it could be hits or it could be one non-hit, you got to prove them out. So that's what I'm saying. It's just too much more work to go
Too
the
much
cheaper
fun
route.
there. Yeah,
Yeah. Then you got to grow them out, and then it's just too much. So, but I mean, if you like doing that, I mean, some people like doing that. They like to have long projects like
exactly. They
that.
like
It's
they like
cool.
the process. They like to
Yeah,
have plenty of patience. With a lot of people, they don't have patience. They want to let me get an adult male, adult female for this season that I want to pair. A lot of people don't think about like long term.
exactly.
I do kind of both, depending on if I've had like the partner. Like for me, I've had Ketchup here, my bicolor, my red bicolor female. I've had her for 2 years, and I knew for 2 years what I wanted to pair her with was a black either phantom or just patternless male. I was able to get a black phantom male uh, at the last Repticon, and so I knew exactly what I wanted. I was able just to snatch him up real quick as soon as I saw him. I was like, "Yep, I know exactly. You're the guy for me." But so let's get into. We talked about Xanthic. Before we do Xanthic Lily White, let's talk about Lily Whites again. I'm gonna get out one of my Lily Whites that I have. Did you want to explain to the people? I know we already went over that you can't pair a Lily White to a Lily White, but I know that Lily Whites are fairly new to the reptile world. They were produced first by Lily Exotics, I think Minnesota. Don't quote me on that, but I know it's from Lily Exotics. Um, Lily whites are very beautiful. Let me put Thor away here. Say goodnight to Thor.
Another thing that's cool with the lily whites is if you, I have a few females that I'm growing out. They should be ready to breed probably, hopefully, the next month or two. But I
Mm-hmm.
have a couple male caps, and when you breed a cap to a lily white, you can make frappuccinos, which they almost, in a sense, look like Xanthics. They're dark, but they have more of like a chocolate like look instead of a black look that goes
Yeah.
with the cream.
So, for example, for all of you, this is Miss Peaches right here. Okay, she is a lily white, a lavender lily white crested gecko. Whoop. There we are. Say hello to Peaches. Olivia is familiar with Miss Peaches or her mother, Scarlet. She had Scarlet on loan with her for a little while, and I got a couple lily whites out of or from the collaboration. So as you can see, lily whites here, they will have the almost completely white dorsal, and the tail will be completely white on the top. So on the bottom of the tail, kind of hard to position her. But on the bottom of the tail, you can have pattern. That's okay. But to be indicative of a lily white, you need to have uh, the solid white all the way down the top of the tail. They also have a little bit of a yellow hue to them as well. Even though they call it lily whites, they have a little bit of a yellow hue. Hold on, give me a second. Let's see. It looks like we paused for a second. Wait for it to come back up. I apologize, y'all. Can you hear me, John?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. It seems like we're just paused for a moment. But so that is Peaches is a extreme Harlequin. I'll get into that on my next episode, going into the different morphs. Today, we're just going to focus on the lily white aspect of
And
that.
the one you have in your hand, that's a nice one too. It's a more of a high expression lily white. They have other lily
Yeah.
whites that don't have as much like coloring on that side right there.
Mm-hmm.
And even on their backs, they won't have as much color in too. But when you have the high expression like the one in your hand, those ones are sweet.
Yeah, I love having tons of pattern, a lot of like white drippiness coming down from the bottom or from the top of the dorsal and the bottom of the white wall. I like having that come up. Hmm.
Cool.
I'll say I still think we're frozen. Can anyone hear me? Or I know you can hear me. Can you see me at all? Give me a second.
What about in our comments? Can you guys hear us or see us? Are we frozen? Are we good?
Oh, my screen just went dark. That's not good. Okay, that is fun. Have you gotten any response yet, John?
Not yet.
Okay.
Uh, oh yeah,
Also,
Gage Boy gave a thumbs up.
okay.
Anyone else hear us? Are we good?
I don't know why. Okay, well, let's go ahead and keep talking, not just be on dead air. So we have the basics of lily whites, how to get them, and what they look like. You want to go ahead and talk about exanthic lily whites?
Yep.
Okay.
So basically, with the Xanthic lily white, I take a visual male and then I have a lily white Xanthic female, and you'll get half of them will be visual Xanthics and the other half will be lily white Xanthics.
Okay.
Some with the heads, I'm not
There
sure.
we go. Okay, we're back on.
We're
There we
good.
go. Hey.
So with the heads, I'm not sure how all that goes. It gets confusing with the heads, like with the lily whites. I'm not sure like how much come out lily white Xanthic. I don't know if they come out normal
Thank
Xanthic.
you, Carter.
So that's just something I'm not sure. I always just got the two visuals. I bought
Mm-hmm.
my Lily White Exantic also from Altitude. She's one of my favorite crested geckos. If you want to see her, go on Instagram, Killer Exotics 2022, and check out Oreo. She's just oh man, that's
Killer.
she's worth every penny. Like I remember picking her up from the show, and I was just like, "Whoa! Like this thing is amazing." It had a lot more of that highlighter in it when it was smaller, but now that it's getting full grown and getting older, that highlighter yellow is starting to fade out.
Good,
Which
good.
I heard, from listening to a lot of podcasts. Like I listen to a lot of the Gecko Pod with AJ and Harry. Um, they talk about it. AJ says like a lot of the highlighter will disappear as they grow out. So, which honestly I don't care. I like it better with the without the yellow in it. It looks I think a
Yeah, I
lot.
like the white and black look a lot better.
Oh yeah, it looks clean.
With the Xanthic lily white, you will see some white on it. They'll have basically the pinstripes on the back will mostly be white, like a pinstripe, and the rest of it will be black. Okay, the base of the body will be black. and they should have the white wall right here. This little section of white that you see on peaches called a white wall. They will have that as well. Correct, John?
Yep, I would have take Oreo out, but she's in her egg bin and she's about to lay eggs any day, her first clutch of the season. So I don't really want to stress her out. But
Uh,
she just, if you were to see her, man, she's just gorgeous. She's
She's
awesome.
a killer. Yeah, y'all go check out his Gargs and his Crested Geckos. He has so many nice geckos for being this new in the game. He definitely started out with getting a lot of high quality over a lot of quantity at the beginning, and it's really paid off for him. It's awesome to see his collection and what he's been able to produce so far. And what this is only your third year breeding,
Yeah,
right?
third season. My first year, I had five gargoyles breeding. Last year, I had eight, and this year, I got 15 or 16 females going right now, and I got like six or seven Crestie females going. I still have like 10 more females to pair up. So my
Dang,
problem is
it's
I need a couple
crazy.
more stud males. So I'm working on that this year. And then, yeah, so always something new coming over here. You know it. Like I'll be like, I need to take some time off, and then something just lands in my lap somehow. But
Exactly.
it's
Exactly.
always
On the last episode, I was like, all right, I'm making these tanks. I'm not finishing them all the way. Like one of them, I ran out of zip ties, so I was like, I can't finish it all the way, but it's okay. I'm not getting a gecko anytime soon. And then it was literally what 5 days later, I bought another gecko. I was like, well, that didn't work. So y'all saw it here first. Even though I said I'm gonna stop buying reptiles, the addiction just doesn't stop.
for sure. But like when you have like one or two geckos, like you learn. But when you have a bunch of them and you get to see like they're all different in each way. Like especially the gargoyles, man. It's like they're just some of them are picky eaters. Some of them want a different flavor. Like some of them do, they do their own things, man. Like they all have their own little thing that
Well,
they do.
personality, like humans, they all have their own little quirks, all their different mannerisms. Like you just got to learn the gecko. Really, the more time you spend with them, the more that you'll adapt to them, and they'll adapt to you. And it's really cool to see like the bond grow. I know a lot of people say that crested geckos are like real flighty and hard to like handle a lot of the times. Bo, the first crested gecko that I got, I'll open his tank and he'll be sitting there like looking for me to like come out, and I'll just put my hand out and he'll walk straight onto my hand. So it is possible to have a calm crested gecko. Just handle them
Oh,
a
it's
lot more.
possible. And you can make any gecko calm. You just gotta spend time with it.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, the thing is, you don't want to look it in the eyes. Like when you handle it, trying to look it in the eyes, because basically the reason why it's jumping, it thinks you're a predator, and once it knows that you're not going to hurt it and stuff, it's going to relax. It's going to be more calm and be more receptive to you. So you just got to take a little bit of time each day and let it get used to you, and then after a while, they'll become real chill. And the
Exactly.
thing with the like, because like I said, I got crested geckos and I got gargoyles, and then I also hatched out baby cresties and I hatched out baby gargs. I feel like the baby gargoyles are way more calmer than the crested gecko babies. The crested gecko babies, they just want to jump everywhere, and it's like,
Yeah, they want freedom.
and then you're nervous that they're gonna drop their tail, and it's like, I don't know. Like with a garg, I don't feel like that nervousness. Like they're more, I think they're more hardier. They're not gonna drop their tails like the crested geckos. Like they got their pros and cons. Like,
I
but
would say they do have that, and it's also up to the gecko. Of course, like we said, they're all different. I personally breed calm geckos. I don't breed like really spazzy geckos that are just running all over the place because I don't want that. I do believe that it can pass down um, from the parents to the geckos, so I'm always pairing up calmer geckos to hopefully get calmer babies from them to be more handleable going down the line.
what I notice about the crazy males, they're the ones that want to breed though, and they're
Yeah,
like
that's true.
you
Yeah.
can count on them to get the job done. Like
Mhm.
they got a lot of testosterone, so they're ready to go.
But yeah, like you were saying, the crested geckos do drop their tails, but they're not as fragile as people make them out to seem. They can be pretty resilient. They use it whenever they overshoot their jumps, which they're not that bright. So they over shoot their jumps a lot. So they use their tail to wrap on, kind of like a monkey's tail, and like swing around so that they don't fall straight to the ground. Um, they also say loud noises can make them drop their tails. It is true. It can happen, but I live in a place where I am near an airport and a train tracks, railroad tracks. Okay, so I hear the train going by, or they hear the trains and the airplanes going by, and none of them have dropped a tail doing or due to that. So you do be careful around them, but they're not the most fragile little pieces of glass either. If that
Also,
makes
what Paul talks about, like, because he'll talk about like how all his geckos have tails, and what he thinks is what causes them to keep their tails is keeping their enclosures smaller as they grow. Like, don't have big enclosures, because then when the bigger the enclosure is, they're going to feel more stressed. When it's small and condensed, they're going to feel more comfortable. Also, and then it comes back to like every day when you feed it, like maybe let it jump on your finger, get used to you, like when you handle it. And then as you do that, like I feel like they're not going to be as stressed and willing to drop their tails.
Yeah,
So
definitely going back to the size of the tanks, like I discussed on my last episode, going 0 or 2 to 15 grams, and the small one 15 to 25, and the medium size 12 by 12, and then the 18 by 18 by 24 for 45 plus gram, or sorry, not 45, 26 plus gram. For that, I had one of my followers. She bought a gecko from me a couple, I think last year, and it was young. It wasn't a baby, it was a juvenile. And she sent me a picture of it probably a month or two ago, probably a month ago now. And she sent it to me, and it was still very small. And this was from my Super Dalmatian pairing from last year. And all of them are adults now. They're all right around breeding weight. I think the last one that I kept, everything bagel, was the youngest and smallest before I sold that the one to her, and he's 30 something grams now, but she sent me a picture of it and it was still like 12 grams. So I
is
was
she
like,
feeding bugs?
yeah, yeah. I was about to say, the issue was I was like, ooh, what kind of tank do you have it in? And she was like, oh, she's in a 18 by 18 by 24. So she was having the juvenile in one of this, which she didn't know. We're not blaming her or anything. I'm not going to mention her. It's okay. We all make mistakes. It's fine. The good thing is that once I saw that, I was like, hey, you don't have to buy another tank. That's not the end all be all. If you're tight on money, it's okay. You can get a little piece of cork or wood to block off half or something of that tank. You can block off the section to make it like a 12 by 12, and so that the gecko has room to grow into it, and they'll be able to find the food better, get around better. It's better for them to be more contained. And
Yep.
she emailed me, or not emailed me, she messaged me a update, I think last week or so, that just within the month she'd already gained 5 grams from being in the smaller enclosure. So even if you think that the gecko may be a little bit too big for the enclosure, it's important to go by the guidelines that I talked about before, so that the gecko can healthily grow at a steady pace, so it doesn't just so it's better for the gecko. It doesn't get stunted in growth or anything like that. We always want the best for the geckos.
And
Um, yeah,
another thing with the babies, and like some people, so listen to the Gecko Pod with AJ and Harry, like they preach about feeding bugs to your crested geckos, especially like if you want, especially the hatchlings that are growing up and the juveniles. Like before, I hate feeding crickets, so I have a dubia roach colony, but they don't really care. Some of them eat the roaches, but not all of them. But when it comes to the crickets, man, they'll devour crickets. And I was
yeah,
always against crickets because I remember when I had them years ago, man, they just smell like, oh, they just smell so bad. But I'm getting a shed in my backyard, and I'm gonna keep it cool in there, and I'm gonna have all my crickets out there. So when I feed, I just go out there, grab the crickets, bring them because all my setups in my garage. So
okay.
I'm gonna start doing it. And ever since I've been doing that the last 3 months, man, the size of my baby's doubled already.
Yeah.
Like,
So typically, like what I do is I wait like 2 to 3 months so that I'm getting them set or like getting to the pattern of eating the Pangea, so they're not only wanting the crickets. So for the first like 2 3 months of their lives, I give just the Pangea. But with that, like I explained earlier in one of my episodes, that a lot of my adults don't care for to hunt for the crickets anymore. So I just blend them into the Pangea so that they're still getting all of that protein and all of the good nutrients from the crickets.
Yep.
So the babies are still getting that as well. So they're still getting crickets. They're just not hunting for them yet. And then about around 3 grams, 3 to 3.5 grams, and about 2 to 3 months old, I start introducing the crickets. And then they're like, oh, this smells just like my food. I'll go ahead and attack it. And plus the stimulation of the sight, which is like what John was saying, the dubia roaches don't move around as fast, but
Right.
the crickets are constantly jumping around, so it stimulated them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, the nature part of them took over." And
Dude,
they
it's nuts. As soon as you take the crickets out and like they're just alert. Like you don't have to put them in the thing. They already. It's like they can sense it, and they look up and they're like already trying to catch it in their mouths. Like when you're throwing
yeah,
it. Yeah,
yeah,
they devour those things. So yeah, I've been like you said though. The first couple of months, I feed them and then also since I've been feeding crickets, I feel like they've been eating more of the Pangea than they used to before I was.
hmm.
So
Let's look at the comments real quick. Clint, thanks. You made me hold my new Crestie. Haven't held her since getting her at the expo. She did great and got some pics. That's awesome, Clint. I hope to see them on Instagram tomorrow or tonight, whichever you choose. But that'd be awesome to see your new Crestie. And Olivia, my babies are so hit or miss. They either want them or they don't. Been the same way for 6 years. Okay, so yeah. Are you giving to them like around like the 3 month age, or are you doing it like as soon as like they're hatching out, trying to get to them? Maybe try like I did, blending them into the Pangea. I know it's not great, but you don't really see it, okay, because the Pangea is a different color. But try blending some crickets into the Pangea, and so that they're getting the scent and the taste for the crickets, and then try giving them to them. That for me, it worked a lot better trying to get them to go to um, Pangea to crickets. Um, so yeah, maybe that'll help you as well. All right, did you have any information about your gargoyle geckos? You also have a lot of killer gargoyle geckos.
I I love the gargoyles, man. Like,
Mhm.
oh,
We
like
talked about them a little bit. Your what the blood line from Tiki's geckos.
yeah, he's got the Deadpool, and then the other night he did a Palm Street, and it was a he did a pop up Palm Street the other night. I think it was what was it Friday or Saturday night? I can't remember, but it was funny because my friend Sam from Ancient Creations earlier that day, she's like, "Is Tiki's doing? When's Tiki's doing another Palm Street?" I was like, "I don't know. Usually on the weekends he'll do it unless he has like a reptile show or something else to do." So
Mm,
then later that night, he had a pop up. So I texted her. I was like, "Your wish came true. Tiki's is on Palm Street." So I'm
yeah,
watching, and David, he's getting friggin' hammered on whiskey on the show. And
yeah.
Sam texted me and was like, "Man, this could go two ways. We could get some probably killer deals tonight since he's drinking." And I was like, "Well, so Sam put a Pennywise offspring for auction." So he's like, "I think I got one." So he goes and checks it, and he's like, "I got one here." And he shows the baby, and this thing's smoking for a baby.
Yeah.
And then he said somehow it was related to Tampax. That like my mind was going 100 miles an hour because I really wanted it, but I forget how
Palm
it.
Street, you got to act fast. Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't have time to think about it a lot on Palm Street. You got
So
like the 1 or 2 minutes, and then it's gone.
yep. So he puts it on auction, and all of a sudden, me and Sam are in a bidding war on it, and I got it for $740. I guess her phone did a glitch, so she couldn't do another
You got
bid.
lucky and got her for a good price.
Yep. So then, so yeah, I got that, and David's gonna throw in a Tampax T-shirt that he printed out for like a limited edition shirt. So yeah, I got that.
That's
So
that's,
I
that's a
was pretty.
gecko shirt, okay? For our viewers out there, that's a gecko shirt, not the woman's toiletry product, okay?
Yeah,
Just so you know.
yeah. But yeah, so I got Pennywise finally. Some blood from that. gecko in my collection. Plus, I got stuff like from like a lot of big breeders. I got stuff from another Rack House with Paul. I got stuff from Kelly with Eclipse Exotics. Uh, Brian from Sundown, dude. Like this guy's
Killer
splotches.
gecko. And you got a lot from Southern Girl Exotics too, right?
Yeah, she's got some. Yeah, don't
I
sleep
got a
on her.
male from.
She's got some nice stuff too.
She's
Uh,
really good. I got a really nice male tricolor crested gecko. I bred him for the first time this year. I got 2 eggs so far, so I'm really excited to see what happens with that.
nice.
Let's see, Olivia. I've blended them. Honestly, I think it's genetics. My crazy parents have crazy cricket kids. Yeah. Um, some of them just aren't big on crickets. You could try dubia roaches, um, as long as you're given like the Pangea growth and breeding, adding like a little calcium with D3 in it every week. They should be fine. They grow a lot faster when they have bugs and insects,
Yep.
but if they just don't want to eat it, don't force them to eat it. I mean, you can't just like shove the crickets down their throat. But usually, when I blend into the Pangea, they're at least eating the Pangea still, so they're still getting all of the protein and nutrients from them. So even if they're not crazy about the crickets, you can still get them that source of protein. And then Clint, I'll definitely post pics. Josh and John even will mention y'all's live. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. That's awesome, Clint. And then you're Geckos of Gaia, right? I remember, right? It was Geckos of Gaia, Clint. Anyways, so yeah. Did you want to show? You had one little dude right there. Do you want to introduce us to who he is?
So this guy is Gargzilla, but he had enough and he's like ready to go to bed. But yeah,
Yeah.
this is my mascot. I bring him to shows and I let people pet him and he like hangs out. He's a cool. Right now, he's being a little douche because it's nighttime and he's ready to eat his food and
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't prepared for tonight.
Definitely.
But yeah, another one of my favorite gargoyle geckos. Her name's Pamela Gargison. If you go on my Instagram, you can check her
Uh,
out.
love her.
She is
Really nice.
amazing. Like I just can't get over. I'll put them away. I just can't get over her saturation. She's a super blotch.
I was like, you
Like
have a lot of like really, really red geckos, and it's so cool to see.
yeah, so the gargoyles come in the reticulated, and which is a reticulated pattern. They'll have blotches, and then you have your stripes. And I like the super blotches the best. Like, don't get me wrong, the super stripes are cool too when they have the laterals and the thick back stripes. Like, they're
Yeah,
awesome, but them blotches, man, they just some of
yeah,
them just
especially
like
like.
there's spray paint or something on them. Like, it's just they're
Mm-hmm.
so beautiful. So,
Yeah, I was like, you have a lot of beautiful gargoyles already that
thank you.
bring to the show. I see them, you get to handle them. They're beautiful. They handle well, and they're just really cool. I may have to get a gargoyle gecko from you in my future. They're
Yeah,
super
another
cool.
rabbit hole.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully, I don't get into breeding them. Hopefully, I just want to plan on breeding crested geckos. But we all know how that goes. I didn't even plan to do this in the first place. But here we are.
I also have a breeding pair of kahua geckos, which I still haven't got fertile eggs from this year. So uh, it's it's driving me crazy. I just want to get a clutch of fertiles, and
The
I,
waiting game.
yeah, it's just a pain. I have five bearded dragons. I'm gonna start breeding some of those. Probably this summer, I'm gonna have a female going. So, and next year I'll have more. And then I
Love
have
pretty dragons.
some tortoise eggs cooking right now. Some sulcata tortoise eggs, 15 eggs. So I'll have some of those available. But yeah,
Cool. Very cool. That's awesome.
yeah, everything's starting to roll now.
That's awesome. Great to hear. Well, thank you so much, John, for being our first guest on Cresty Conversations. I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, thanks for
Thank
having
you for
me.
being here. Yeah, it was great. If you ever want to come back, let me know. I'd love to have you on again.
For
I
sure.
think everyone on the live enjoyed it as well. drop a W in the chat for John if you enjoyed him being here and all of the knowledge he shared with us today. We really appreciate that.
Yeah. Also, if you want to see me, I'm going to be at a few shows in Atlanta. We have the Reptilian Nation show coming in June on Father's Day weekend, which is an awesome show. It's going to be right near Truist Park where the Braves play. Awesome venue. They're going to have a lot of big name breeders. It's very clean. Definitely recommend that show.
It's a big
Also,
show,
we
very
have
big show.
yeah, we have Repticon in July. I think it's the weekend of the 12th, I believe, I want to say. So we'll be there. It's at the Gwinnett Fairgrounds.
Yeah.
And then also we have another super show coming August 10th and 11th, and that's presented by Bob's Balls. He puts it together. It's the Southeastern Expo.
Yeah, Southeast Conference Expo or something like that.
Yep, and that's also another big, amazing show. A lot of big name, top like quality breeders there. So I
Mm-hmm.
definitely recommend going. I won't have my own setup. I usually team up with another vendor, either with Austin from Scorch and Scales. If you want to follow him, he's got some awesome bearded dragons.
Yep,
He's
he's
dipping
very
it.
cool. Love Austin. He's dope. He
Yeah,
has a lot of
Austin's a good
beautiful
dude.
bearded dragons.
Yeah, he's also doing started his podcast also, which I love it that all you guys are doing these podcasts because like I've already listened to all 83 episodes of the Gecko Pod, and I listened to
Yeah.
all of Bobby's at the Gecko Cove, and I wish it like I know they're busy, but I want more. Like we
Mm-hmm.
need some more.
Yeah.
Like I love listening, I love learning. Like I
That's
said,
what's cool. Yeah.
I learned so much from the Gecko Pod with AJ and Harry. It's ridiculous. Like
Mm-hmm.
and they talk mostly 95% crested geckos. Like that's mostly all they talk about. And before I didn't listen to them as much because I wasn't really into the cresteds, but now that I got into them,
Mm-hmm.
it's good. Also, another guy, if you want to follow, is my buddy Eddie out in Arizona, Sergeant Geckos. He just started getting into the breeding like a little while ago, but he's going to be producing some insane stuff. Like he doesn't have a lot of geckos, but the stuff he has is just
Top notch.
sick. Yep.
That's awesome to
So
hear.
yeah.
So yeah. Well, thank you all again for joining us tonight. That will be it for this episode. On our next episode, it will be 2 weeks from today. So it'll be on May 6th. I'm going to be going over more of the morphs that I have here. Today we went over a couple of the high-end morphs with John from Killer Exotics. May 6th, we're going to be going over and I'm going to be showing you up close and personal the different morphs and traits on all of the crested geckos that I have here at Georgia Cresties. So thank you again for joining us on Crested Conversations. Thank you for joining the Geckoverse podcast channel. My name is Josh. That is John. Keep it
Yep.
cresty, bestie.
Cool.
Have a
Yeah.
good night.
Have a good night, guys. And like I said, follow me on Instagram, Killer Exotics 2022. And if you need have any questions, feel free to message me on there.
Definitely. If you have any questions about Xanthate, any of that kind of stuff, any gargoyles, hit up John. All right.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks for
you.
having me again, bro. It was a good time.
Definitely. Thank you. Have a good night, y'all.